This is ShadowQuant, Crypto Edition, brought to you by AresLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Friday, May 29, 2026, and this is the After Hours session. Now, let's get into it. Bitcoin is holding steady near $73,390, but the market is watching Bitcoin dominance dip to 57.58% as XLM surges 21.7% on regional regulatory shifts and crypto volume dynamics. Fear and greed is at 14/100, but the 7-day trend is up 12 points, suggesting a potential sentiment reversal. The crypto space is showing divergent behavior from equities, with SPY at $443.12 and QQQ at $383.45, but the equity indices are not driving the crypto narrative. Let's start with the recap. Pulse, your call on Ethereum was bearish, targeting $1,950, but it actually closed at $2,011.08. That's a 1.4% miss. How do you plan to adjust? I overestimated the bearish pressure in Ethereum. The volume and sentiment were more resilient than I anticipated. I'll be watching the 50-day moving average more closely this time. Grid, your Ethereum bearish call also missed. You expected a drop to $1,950, but it ended at $2,011.08. What changed?
I focused on short-term resistance, but the market broke through and found support at $1,980. I'll be recalibrating my support levels with more on-chain data this time.
CIPHER, your Bitcoin bearish call was off by nearly 600 points. You expected $72,500, but it closed at $73,390. What did you miss?
I underestimated the institutional participation in Bitcoin. The volume and flow data were more supportive than I accounted for. I'll be incorporating more decentralized finance TVL into my analysis.
SPECTER, your bearish call on Bitcoin also missed. You expected $72,500, but it closed at $73,390. What's your new approach?
I've been defaulting to bearish without enough evidence. I'll be looking for stronger signals before making a call.
Apex, your Bitcoin bearish call was off. You expected $72,500, but it closed at $73,390. What's your strategy now?
I need to be more cautious with my assumptions. I'll be looking for a more sustained bearish pattern before acting.
Let's move to the market overview. The key headlines today include a 700% spike in Iranian crypto outflows after U.S.-Israel airstrikes, a U.S. Senate housing bill that includes a CBDC ban, and pays $1.10 billion NASDAQ IPO filing. Fear and greed is at 14/100, but the 7-day trend is up 12 points. The VIX is at 16.29, down 0.72 from the previous session. Let's bring in the voices. Let's start with the key story. Bitcoin dominance is at 57.58%, down 1.2% from the prior session, as XLM surges 21.7% on regulatory optimism and volume spikes. Let's talk about XLM.
The 21.7% surge in XLMUSD is a strong breakout on 3x average volume. The price is above key resistance levels, and the volume profile confirms the move is not a short-term spike. With Bitcoin dominance declining, altcoins are likely to continue outperforming.
I agree with the volume and momentum, but I see a potential for a pullback. The 21.7% surge on 3x volume suggests a short-term speculative rally, and the overbought RSI and declining Bitcoin dominance argue against a long-term bullish thesis.
I'm not convinced this is a sustainable trend. The 21.7% surge on 3x volume is a red flag for speculative overreach, not a technical breakout. The asset is not in a confirmed trend, and the lack of follow-through in Bitcoin suggests a broader market caution.
Pulse, what's your take on the sentiment around XLM? The sentiment is still in a low-risk tolerance mode, with fear and greed at 14/100. But the 7-day trend is up 12 points, so there's a potential for a reversal. I'll be monitoring the retail sentiment and social media activity for any signs of a broader shift.
Apex, what's your synthesis of these views?
Grid and CIPHER are both on the same page about the volume and momentum, but SPECTER is more cautious. Pulse is watching the sentiment for a potential shift. It's a mixed picture, but the volume and price action suggest a short-term bullish bias. I'll be looking for a retest of $0.30 as a potential entry point.
SPECTER, you pushed back on Grid read on XLMUSD. Let's dig into that.
I think Grid is overestimating the sustainability of the move. The 21.7% surge on 3x volume is a classic case of overbought momentum. The asset is in a critical resistance zone, and the lack of institutional flow suggests a short-term pullback is likely. The 50-day moving average is at $0.22, and a close below that would signal a deeper correction.
I agree that the 21.7% surge is strong, but the volume and price action suggest a confirmed breakout. The 3x average volume is a strong indicator of liquidity and speculative interest. I'll be watching for a retest of $0.30 as a potential entry point.
CIPHER, what's your take on this debate?
I see both sides. The volume and price action are strong, but the overbought RSI and declining Bitcoin dominance are concerns. I think the market is in a delicate balance, and we'll need more data to determine the direction.
Pulse, what's your perspective? I'm watching the sentiment closely. The 7-day trend is up 12 points, but the fear and greed index is still at 14/100. There's a potential for a shift, but we need more data to confirm it. My 24-hour call. XLMUSD bearish. Target $0.20 by next session.
My 24-hour call, XLMUSD bullish, target $0.30 by next session.
My 24-hour call, XLMUSD bearish, target $0.22 by next session.
My 24-hour call, XLMUSD bearish, target $0.20 by next session.
My 24-hour call, XLMUSD bearish, target $0.21 by next session.
To sum up, the market is in a delicate balance. Grid and CIPHER see a potential breakout in XLMUSD, but SPECTER and Pulse are more cautious. Apex sees a potential pullback to $0.21. We'll be watching for a retest of $0.30 as a potential entry point. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Crypto Edition. Stay tuned for the Tokyo session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.